Martin, is climate change real?
Yes, it's real. The climate is always changing. There have been periods in history when it's been far warmer than it is now, and there have been periods when it's been far colder. Everybody's heard of the ice ages. So yes, climate change is real, but it's a constant. It's always changing. Now, the thing that's different is that there is a body of people with their own vested interests that are claiming that climate change is being caused by human activity, and particularly the levels of CO2. Now, it's worth listening to people like Dr. Richard Lindzen, who's the professor of meteorology at MIT, because he says the whole thing is nonsense. There have been periods in the history of the Earth where the CO2 levels have been far higher, but no associated increase in temperature. There are other people who say that the most influential factor is the amount of cloud cover, because obviously clouds reflect the sunlight. So yes, climate change is happening, but is it being caused by CO2? If you listen to the experts in this, many of them say no. And all that's happening is there's a large body of vested interests that are pushing this. And of course, some academics who get their funding from governmental and business agencies are happy to go along with the idea that there's climate change. It's what Lindzen calls a political power play. There are people who are going to benefit from all of this. And he says that the extreme weather conditions that we're experiencing are actually not all that extreme and are quite common. I have to say, where I live, which is in the south of Portugal, it'd be easy to assume that we're suffering from global cooling because the summers have been quite mild recently, contrary to what may be in the news. So the IPCC, which is the, God, what does it stand for? I can't remember, climate change anyway, something climate change, issued a report saying that there's no link between extreme events and so-called climate change. But of course, everybody ignores that. So every time there's a hurricane somewhere or particularly cold weather or particularly hot weather, then it's climate change. So as a summary to that, you could say, yes, climate change is happening. It's a natural process. It may disadvantage some people and not others. But the bottom line is that what human beings are doing isn't really a major factor in climate change. Of course, a lot of vested interests don't want to hear that. This is just an example of Western hand-wringing. You know, we hand-wring about race, about climate, about the environment, about anything you can think of, just about. Some people would call it middle-class guilt. There's a sense of virtue in running your electric car, although you forget that somewhere a power station has got to be producing that electricity. So I think you can take climate change with a pinch of salt in the sense that human beings are not a major factor according to many experts, but they're typically not listened to. More generally, you should be aware that there's a lot of hand-wringing going on. And I think in the main you can ignore most of it.